அவைக்கு வந்திருக்கும் அமைச்சருக்கு முதல் மரியாதை, அவை தலைவருக்கு மரியாதை, திரு விஆர்எஸ் சம்பத் நண்பருக்கு மரியாதை, அனைவருக்கும் வணக்கம். The given topic is rules and regulations that we have to do when we follow international business. Now, some of the main points has been made by the previous speakers. I'm not going to cover the same points, but just to give the broad outline of what are the key points that you need to take note when you do international business. I think the first point is you got to take note of the corporate laws which are provided in that particular country where you're going to do business. So particularly matters like company law, partnership law, sole proprietorship law gives you the structure of what kind of business you can set up in the country. Now, in addition to that, you got to take note of some of the rules and regulations that are provided when it comes to setting up some of these companies. So you got to be careful about some countries where they insist that your shareholding structure must provide for some local partners. So like in Malaysia, sometimes they impose a rule that Bumiputra, local Malays, must comprise 30% of the partnership. Similar to these in some sectors, potentially like in aviation, in defense, in mining, some countries also impose restrictions where they may insist that the local partner must hold 51% or 30% of the local shareholdership. So these are some of the main points that you need to take note as far as corporate law is concerned. Now, the second part I wanted to share with you is some of the financial laws that are applicable in that country. As if you're an investor, you're a businessman, you got to take note because there will be a lot of tax laws that you got to be careful, GST laws you got to be careful. Sometimes there are even some criminal laws that you got to be careful because, for example, in one country I was surprised to know that when your check defaults, you can go to prison because it's considered a crime in that particular country, which is surprising to many of us. So when you take note of corporate, you also got to take note of the financial rules and regulations that are applicable in the country. Now, the third area that I wanted to highlight to you is that there are a lot of international agreements and bilateral agreements that you as businessmen should be conscious of. Particularly, there are a lot of free trade agreements and multilateral free trade agreements like between India and ASEAN. There are bilateral agreements between Singapore and India. And also there are some bilateral investment agreements. Now, all these agreements are meant to provide opportunities, tax benefits, custom benefits. So if you are a businessman, it pays to pay attention to many of these rules and regulations because one of the common complaints is particularly the small and medium-sized enterprises do not take advantage of many of these free trade agreements, bilateral investment agreements, and multilateral free trade agreements. So pay attention to them because I think there are a lot of benefits that you can derive. Now, final topic that I wanted to cover is what happens when a problem arises. Now, you got to think ahead and see where are the potential areas where problem can arise, and you have to make sure that you choose a venue or a place of settling your disputes which is fast, transparent, efficient, and somewhere where you can finally enforce your judgment. So today there are many options. You can go to court, you can go for arbitration, and now the latest area which is fast catching up is mediation, which is and they have now got an international convention which is they call the Singapore Convention, which enables you to go for mediation, and countries which have signed on to this mediation convention also allow for enforcement of many of these mediation orders. So these are some of the options that you can consider, but in deciding where you want to resolve the dispute, it's critical to see whether you can get your settlement quickly. Because sometimes you may go to a jurisdiction, but they take 10 years, 5 years to come out with a resolution. So you want to go to a place where you can get a decision in 3 months, 6 months, so that you can get back your money or your investments quickly when a problem arises. Now, these are some of the main points I wanted to outline. Now, many of this literature is already available in the internet, so I thought I'll just tickle your mind with many of these key points, and if you are interested, you can perhaps go back and do more research and get to know this topic better. So given the time constraint, I'll just conclude. Thank you for listening. Thank you.
வழக்கறிஞர் ரவீந்திரன் அவர்களுக்கு நன்றி.